Welcome to Tehachapod, the City of Tehachapi's podcast, where we share conversations with local leaders, business owners, and community members. Don't miss an episode. Be sure to follow and subscribe to learn something new and discover ways to get involved in our community.
Hello and welcome back to Tehachapod. Maya Acosta joined by Claire Scotty today. Claire, it feels like it's been quite some time since we've got to chat.
I know. It feels like it's been a while since I've gotten to sit in this chair.
Yes, and you are here today representing our Greater Tehachapi Chamber of Commerce as our executive director. So we are on for our September chamber chat, if you will.
Yay.
And we're going to talk all things, what's happened over the last month. Oh my God, it's been so busy. And what's to come still. But also what's exciting is you have another hat you're wearing today as co-owner of Bees Landing, which is a new business, and we'll get all into it. So also joining us is Chris Scotty, part owner of Bees Landing as well. So welcome, Chris.
Thank you. Very excited to be here.
Yes, we're excited to get into all the details of what your small business ventures have been like over the last several years and what it's shifting to now. But before we get into that, we want to talk all of the chamber business. So let's dive in. Mountain Fest is now 2 weeks past.
Yes.
And wow, my goodness. Like the city, we put on the Green Street Get Down, and that was like, holy cow, that was a lot of work. But a 2-day festival with how many vendors did you have?
We had close to 100 vendors.
So
80 arts and crafts and another 17 food vendors, plus local organizations and businesses.
Lots of moving parts there, plus bands, plus safety, plus and so many more things. It's a huge lift, and you guys did an amazing job with it. People were just raving about how great the Mountain Fest was this year. It was a lot of fun, great attendance. But tell us a little bit about how that went from your point of view. What's some of your takeaways from Mountain Fest 2025?
Yes. Well, I have to give a huge shout out to all the amazing volunteers who came out from Thursday, marking all of the vendor spots and the grass and the park and making sure everybody had plenty of room, to, getting all of our vendors in on the Friday before and making sure that they're good to go and that there's no traffic jams and nobody's butting heads or anything like that. And then we get everybody situated. And then, of course, Saturday, all the big fun happening everywhere, and you've got the parade. But behind the scenes, you also have the fire marshal from Kern County, and you have environmental health coming out and checking on everybody and making sure everybody's following their rules and that they're ready to go. And so behind the scenes, you're working with all the permitting and making sure everything is safe and that, the traffic can flow and, everybody's coming in and they can have a good time. Mm-hmm. I think it went as smooth as it could have gone.
Yeah.
I am so grateful. I'm so thankful for Tehachapi Amateur Radio. They brought all of their volunteers out, and they were just keeping eyes in every direction and making sure that everything was going smoothly. Mm-hmm. And so that let me just put out any fires that needed to be put out, but it went very, very smoothly. I think the biggest hurdle was actually the internet.
Yep, we heard.
Yeah, so we utilize Verizon with Wi-Fi units so that our vendors can connect to the internet. However, there were so many people in Tehachapi that came up to celebrate, from the rodeo to Green Street Get Down to the parade, everything all throughout the day, that the Verizon network was struggling.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a good thing and a bad thing. A good thing that we had so many wonderful people coming up to celebrate Tehachapi and learn about Tehachapi. But at the same time, we're going to have to work out some kinks with that so that our vendors can stay connected and be able to process payments.
Yeah, which is very important. And like you're saying, it's kind of that double-edged sword of where it's a good thing that shows that we have a lot of people coming out to enjoy the event, but also difficult of like, hey, Verizon, hey, phone companies, internet companies, we're a legit city and area.
Yes.
We're not just this rural little town. Like, we need some real infrastructure. So, yeah, it's definitely something that is like, ooh, I don't know how we can fix it, but we've got to find somebody that can help, address it so that all of these great events that we have each and every year can continue to thrive and grow and just do well.
Absolutely. And we learned that we saw 9,000 people come through on Saturday.
Wow.
And another 5,000 come through on Sunday. So 14,000 people were in that park during Mountain Fest weekend, and about 68% of those were all local.
Nice.
So loving it, and loving, like, everybody comes out and does their family reunions and, high school reunions, and everybody just comes together. And it's a nice summer celebration before we get back into school and the flow of things. I do have to say I am also very, very thankful about the weather.
Oh gosh, it was perfect.
It was perfect. And then looking at the weather this last weekend where we had intense heat and storms coming in
Yeah.
and intense wind, and I was just so thankful.
Yeah, it was perfect. Not too hot, nice and sunny. But yeah, it really is just the perfect environment there at Central Park. It's so cool. I love walking around the park and just seeing like big groups of friends and family hanging out. You can tell maybe they haven't seen each other in a while and they're just chilling at the park, enjoying their company, going and getting food from the great food vendors, enjoying the music. And it's all around just a great family time. And it's free. You just get to go to the park and enjoy, peruse the vendors. And yeah, it was a great event.
Yeah, we're very proud of it. We love the successes, and with all of the feedback that we get, we just try to improve and make it better every year.
Yeah. And so speaking of events growing, we know that in years past that the Thunder on the Mountain Car Show used to be part of Mountain Fest, but it became such a big deal that the chamber decided that it needed to be its standalone event. And that's why it's been moved to September, which is coming up quickly. It'll be here before we know it. So how is that event shaping up?
Yes, absolutely. And like you said, it got moved a couple years ago, partly because we had the hurricane coming in and we had to cancel it, but we were able to pick that event up and move it. And so we moved it into early October at the time, and the trees were changing. The weather was so much better, so much cooler, and it wound up being a huge success all on its own. And so, like you said, from there it grew. And so now it really deserves its own day. It deserves to be on a Saturday, and to bring everybody back up to Tehachapi to see these beautiful classic vehicles, everything from Vespas to, beautiful classic cars and motorcycles, just, all kinds of fun. So this year it is on September 20th. It'll be from 9 to 3 right here in downtown Tehachapi, going up Green Street and F Street and like filling in all of those spaces with beautiful classic cars. There will be live music by Zephyr Saints, and WM will be helping us with the sponsorship, and then they'll also be emceeing the event. Thank you so much to City of Tehachapi for, working with us and sponsoring this event. Thank you so much. And then First Priority Vehicle Registration Services is our checkered flag sponsor, and Mitchell Abrego, who is running the event, he's in it 100%, and he's just been working with all the car enthusiasts and sponsors, and then also getting some really fun vendors out here too. So we'll have a few food vendors that complement our local restaurants that will all be open, and we'll also be seeing some like detailers coming out and all kinds of fun stuff that you can shop. And then our raffle will be going to Cars for Heroes, which is a local organization that restores vehicles and then donates them to our local veterans who need them.
Yeah, such a cool program. We got to talk with Liberty Schaub, and it's her father, right?
Yes.
That runs that organization. Yeah. Very cool. So an all-around great event. How many entrants? Is there a max, or what are we looking at for this year's event?
There is a cap, so you got to get your entry in, and this is where it gets very busy because we're getting about 10 to 15 entries a day.
Oh, goodness.
Yes, and we're capping it at 300.
Okay.
So there's enough room to get 300 cars in here, but if we hit that cap, I'm so sorry, but you're going to have to wait till next year.
Yeah, so get those applications in fast. Where can people apply?
Yes, so head over to thunderonthemountaincarshow.com. You can register online, or you can send us an email and we can send it to you via email. That is at chamber@tehachapi.com. Or if you want to swing by and grab a paper copy, we have them right outside the office, or you can come in and visit, but that's at 209 East Tehachapi Boulevard. Come on into the chamber and grab that.
Cool. All right, so get those in quick so that you can show off your beautiful car in beautiful downtown Tehachapi.
Yes.
What else do we have going on the horizon for the chamber?
Yes, so for September, our luncheon is September 16th at 12 p.m. and Supervisor Chris Parlier for Kern County District 2 is coming, and we're excited to get a full update from him, see what Kern County is up to, and I know he has been busy, so I'm excited to learn from him and for him to learn from our businesses as well. So it's a wonderful opportunity for everyone to come out, hear from him, and then share your feedback so that he can hear from you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We have some ribbon cuttings we're looking forward to on September 18th. Watson Realty has moved into Tehachapi, and they are celebrating their grand opening at 4 p.m. on the 18th. We're very excited about that. And then Lighthouse Bibles and Gifts will be opening very soon. They don't have a date yet, but it's any day now. We're going to be hearing about that. And then there's a new Gypsy Ranch, which with gypsy horses and lots of exciting ways of interacting with equestrians.
Interesting.
So they're working on getting all their stuff up and running, but they want to celebrate in September as well.
All right.
And then early October, October 4th, Dorner Family Vineyard is celebrating the grand opening of their cottages.
Oh, awesome.
Yes, and they are gorgeous. And
Yeah.
they've been working on these for years. And they are beautiful. And so we're very excited to be celebrating with them on October 4th so we can see these cottages and get them booked up.
Oh, yes. And they're going to be a hot commodity, I'm sure.
Yes, absolutely. We have a couple learning series coming up for our small businesses. One is by Sixpence Bookkeeping, and they will be on September 17th and 24th. This is a small business insight and collaboration series where you'll be discussing topics of business planning, legal essentials, financial projection, financial statements, cash flow, and navigating tax obligations. So a wide topic, swath, but an opportunity for a lot of businesses to come together, brainstorm, hear from experts, and kind of be able to iron out some kinks if they need to. And then Kite is also putting on like a 10-week series starting September 10th. And Kite is the current initiative for talent and entrepreneurship. So they focus with new entrepreneurs who want to start their business. And so this 10-week course really gets into the nitty-gritty of starting a business. And then they also help businesses that are looking to level up. So it's a wonderful program. You can learn more by, talking to us, and we can share more information, or you can go to Kite or gokite.org.
All right. Good stuff.
And I just want to shout out before we get into our wonderful interview here, we have some new members that have joined the chamber. We have California Cardiovascular Institute that has joined, Watson Realty, Lilac Bar and Events. They are just fantastic at helping you organize your event. And they bring in the flowers and the decorations, and they help you with every little detail along the way. So big shout out to them. And then JD Williams Locksmith, brand new locksmith, but he's already helped many people in our community if they have locked themselves out of their car or their house, or they need to update their security system, update their lock system on their doors and the windows. He's got you.
Awesome.
And then Tehachapi Symphony Orchestra has joined the chamber.
Very cool.
Welcome.
All right, so lots of good things happening with the chamber. But now to get into our business interview here. Claire, you're switching hats.
I am. I'm going to switch my hat here.
From chamber to small business owner, which is cool. I think just to, reiterate that you bring that firsthand experience of owning businesses here in Tehachapi and bringing that to the chamber and other local businesses to help them on their journeys too. So to pivot, we are now going to talk about Bees Landing, which is a pivot, so to speak,
Yes,
from
it is,
your
yeah.
guys' other business, Discover Tehachapi. So let's talk. Where are we at here in the transition from Discover Tehachapi, which we know has giving great wine tours and the experience of our wine valley, if you will, for many years now, to this new venture?
Yeah, so Bees Landing is kind of a continuation of Discover Tehachapi in a way. So we like to say that Discover was almost 3 businesses in a trench coat, right? Because of permitting with Kern County and how the kitchen worked that catered for the tours, used it for processing honey. So for those that don't know a little bit of context, Discover Tehachapi had our wine tours, we had our kitchen operations, which included catering for events, weddings, our local wineries, and then we also have a honey farm. And that was all kind of under one umbrella because, again, that one kitchen permit was under the Discover Tehachapi name. We love doing the wine tours. It's a lot of fun being a guide, but we have a few businesses in our portfolio, including IT consulting and kind of what I just mentioned that was within Discover already. And we also have a 6-year-old daughter, and Claire works full-time for the Chamber of Commerce. And we're looking at this and going, man, we're tired.
Yeah.
We had a lot on our plates. And when we got down to running some numbers and things and looking at it, while the tours are fun, they were probably the lowest performing of our 4 business ventures. So we decided it was probably time to sunset those and focus so we could give ourselves a little breathing room, a little more time with our little one and as a family. And so we said, okay, well, if we stop the tours, what's next? What are we going to do next? What are we going to keep? And we've been beekeepers for 8 years now. Clears my memory, so you'll see me looking over there a lot. We've been keeping bees for 8 years now. We started selling honey 2-3 years ago, and it's been popular. I mean, we put it on shelves. Now, we're not a big operation. We only have 15 hives right now, slowly growing that. But we put honey on the shelves, and it'd be gone in 3 weeks. And so we thought, well, people obviously want that, and we love doing it, so we're going to keep that. And same thing with catering. You know, we have this kitchen where we process and bottle our honey. We know that we kind of have a little following for our charcuterie boxes at Triassic Vineyards, and we have people who order them for family events and things. And we do a lot of weddings and other events, and so that's been popular too. And we thought, okay, we'll keep these things together. And so while we're going to sunset the tours, we are going to move forward with all those food products, the catering, the honey production, all that, and slowly grow it over time. While keeping in mind that we were making this change, so we had more time with family. So we're going to try to not be too ambitious this time and ramp things up too quickly.
Yeah, very fair. But what's cool, I think, with this transition is that you are looking at what your strengths were in your businesses and making, you know, the smart decisions to, okay, pour the time and energy into what is doing well, and then maybe just putting this one aside for now and seeing what's to come from the new ventures. And that's so important in small businesses and them and their longevity and being successful is that ability to pivot and change with like market demands or what the community is looking like. So I'm curious a little bit more like the background of Discover Tehachapi and then how you guys kind of wound up here. I know we were talking about, you know, the transition, but
yeah, it was kind of a weird road, right? So I have a passion for how wine is made and the whole art of it and everything. And I didn't think we'd be buying a winery anytime soon. So we looked at it and said, well, what's something we could do related to that? And Claire and I have a background in tourism to begin with. And so we thought, well, you know, we could probably do this tour thing pretty well. And so we found vehicle for it. We worked through the labyrinth of California law for carrying passengers and everything, which a lot of fun, let me tell you. You know, we kind of navigated all that and said, yeah, I think we can do this. And we started it and people liked it quite a bit. And one of the big things we did was we supplied lunch because honestly, when people are drinking all day, we want to make sure they eat, right?
Yes.
Everybody has a better time that way. And so we provided lunch and we had a contractor originally for that. Unfortunately, they had some permitting problems. And then we got into what the permitting looked like for a commercial kitchen because of that and said, oh, I guess we'll do this ourselves. And we pretty quickly got a kitchen up and running here in the downtown area. And that's kind of where the catering side came from as we started making the boxes, these charcuterie boxes for our tours. And then at the time, Jim Arnold at Triassic was like, well, I don't have a kitchen. You want to serve your charcuterie boxes here? We said, yeah, of course. You know, it just makes sense to do more of it. And then weddings came along and it's got all this catering stuff. And at the same time, it was actually the year of that hurricane, that Claremont Tropical Storm Hillary. It came through and that was a weird mixed blessing for us because it made a very hard day for Claire running Mountain Fest as they had to evacuate or like basically cancel the event and move people out because of safety. But that like kind of deluge of water brought in a huge harvest for us that year.
Oh.
Because everything came into bloom. We had a second bloom of everything. The bees went nuts. And we took advantage of that. And I remember distinctly coming home, and at the time, I was using a little blue Honda Fit, which is like a tiny little hatchback to do my beekeeping in. And I'm calling Claire and I'm saying, hey, look, we pulled a lot of honey. I don't think we're going to eat all this. What do you think about trying to sell it, you know, through the kitchen? And my parents own a shop called Simply Perfect Gifts and Decor. We share a building with them. I said, what if we sold it in front of the shop? And she goes, well, you know, why not? Give it a try. You know, how expensive could bottles be, right? You know, so we turns out fairly expensive. Yeah. But we figured it out. We found nice bottles and little gold caps, and we made these little gold foil labels and everything. And we said, okay, so here, let's put out this extra 40 pounds of honey and see what happens. And like, I don't know, it was like maybe 4 weeks.
Maybe.
It was gone.
Like, less than a month, it was gone.
Yeah, it was gone. And people were like, do you have more of that? And we kept getting calls all year. Do you have more? Do you have more? I said, okay, let's add some more hives. And there's a little bit of delay. When you start a beehive, it takes a little bit of like an extra year before they start producing enough honey that we can pull it safely, right? Yeah. It's their winter stores. If we take too much, it can cause problems for them in winter. So we want to make sure we only take what they don't need for the winter. And so it takes a little bit of time to get kind of ramped up. And we're now have 15 hives, and the honey's still selling out in 3 weeks, right? So we're like, okay, well, I guess we have to keep growing that and seeing what happens. And so that's kind of how those all came together. It all kind of revolved around that kitchen being built and that permitting, and now the thing that was kind of like almost an accident has become the business. And like you said, pivoting is so important, right? One of my favorite stories about, you know, businesses and pivoting is Nintendo, right? You think of a video game company. They started making playing cards in Japan and little toys and things. And when they saw how the industry was changing, they started making video game consoles, and now they're one of the most successful companies in the world.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And a lot of companies do that. There's a lot of them that do that, where they start as one thing and then they change over time. And really that's kind of what's happening happening here. We are shutting down a company and starting a new one, but it has more to do with the name not fitting anymore than anything.
Yeah, that's a good point to make, that the essence of Discover Tehachapi is still there, right? It's like growing in your hives, basically, but now it just has a new name and a new branding.
Yeah, that's pretty fair.
And it's very much a family-run business. So while our little 6-year-old Alicia, she would love, washing the bus and, playing in there and being a part of that. But she couldn't go on tours with Chris.
Right.
And so there were whole weekends where he was away, and then now she's in school, so she'd hardly ever see him. Whereas with beekeeping, she has her own bee suit.
Oh.
She loves going
Yeah.
out and like helping him find the queen and finding all the little larva babies and, like seeing how much honey they have. And she's learning so much and she loves being a part of it. And so we're looking at that too as a family. And, if we want to have a family business, we want everyone to be included in a productive and fun way. So that was another big part
Yeah,
of
that's a
our
really good point,
transition.
Yeah, I mean, when you have a bus, right, you have one seat for the driver and you have 14 seats you have to try to sell. Claire wasn't going with me on tours. Alicia obviously couldn't go with me on tours. And now we all get out in the apiaries together and we work on things. And I tell you, it's hard to beat.
That's
being
awesome.
able to do it with your family. And she's just so fascinated. I mean, I'm a huge nerd. I'm just going to say it. And I love geeking out on bees and learning about their biology and what they do and just watching their behavior and how they react to things and everything. I mean, they're really amazing creatures. And watching her discover that along with me, it's amazing. It's really cool to see.
That is awesome. And it's cool to hear that she's so into it too. Like, I remember growing up, my parents had a couple hives, and I thought it was interesting, but I was definitely afraid of getting stung by a bee. So I'd watch from afar. And then, when the bees got smoked and they're calm, then I would go check things out and look at the hives. And like, oh yeah, okay. I see it now. But that's awesome. I'm glad that that's not a problem for her, the fear of getting stung by bees.
But she asked for a suit for Christmas a couple years ago because she wanted to go out with us. And she has a full suit, so it's head to toe essentially. So, I mean, she might as well be in armor by comparison to me, who I just wear a jacket and a hood. But I think she is a little afraid, but as she's done it more and more and she hasn't been stung, she's been fine. I'm a little worried because it always happens eventually, right? In beekeeping,
Right.
you eventually get stung somehow, but that'll be interesting to see what happens.
But she's always been very calm around them. Like, they'll come up and they'll check out her veil, and then they'll do the buzz, and she'll be like, "Oh, hi, little bee. How are you today?" And so she's always been very calm around them and very understanding. And she's always teaching her friends, if they see a bee on flowers at school, she's always telling them, don't touch, don't swat at them. They're
Stay
just doing
calm.
their job. They're calm. They're just getting their pollen. And so that's been really fun.
Yeah, that is fun, especially to see that through the eyes of a kid too.
Yeah, I think one of the things that she's learning when you can hear when bees are angry. When you're around them enough, you can start reading their behavior, right? And for the most part, bees only want to protect their home. They are not interested in stinging you. When they sting, they die. Right. So it's definitely not in their best interest to sting you if they're not protecting their home and the queen. So they really don't want to. I think a lot of incidents away from where the colony's living or hives themselves, where people are getting stung, is because they swat at them, or sometimes dying bees. They'll fly away from the hive to die for hygiene reasons. They don't want to have any disease or sickness in the hive. They're very good about being clean in their space, and so they fly away. And as they are dying, they get kind of confused, and sometimes people step on them or things happen, and they can get stung. So people develop this fear. But most of the time, the bee has one goal: they're going to get nectar or pollen out of that flower, and they're going to go home. They don't care about you at all. They're not worried about you. It's not a thing you have to concern yourself with. And then she also has seen too, we had a little inflatable pole blown up the other day because, as you guys know, it was really hot. And you see this a lot, right? Bees end up in pools because they have a hard time judging distance over water. And so I picked her up and we got her moved to some place where she could dry off. And Alicia saw me handling the bee and she realized, okay, there are times where they're not just out to get you, right? They really only are defensive, with the exception of Africanized bees or something. But those are very exceedingly rare. So yeah, for the most part, there's no reason to be afraid of bees unless you're like me and you're on purpose getting all up in their business.
Right.
And Christie's very, very busy during the spring when a lot of these hives or colonies split. And so they get too big for their space and they create a new queen and then they take off with half the colony. And that's when you see, the bundles of
swarms,
bees,
yeah.
swarms hanging out in trees or, sometimes in a windmill or, sometimes, like you never know. Like out at Rio Tinto, they like to hang out in some of the old barrels
Really?
that are out front of their visitor center.
Yeah, we've had some interesting swarm calls. So that's the spring and summer is our busiest season by far. We get a lot of phone calls from people like, oh, I have bees in my yard, my tree. But lately, we've been getting a lot from commercial entities. So we were out at the windmills, or I was out at the windmills not that long ago. They had bees that had gotten into water boxes, like the water valve boxes, below the tanks they use for firefighting at the windmills.
Oh, wow.
We had one call where we had a very stressed out windmill supervisor. Like, I need you to get out here ASAP. I have a crane that we're renting to attach a new windmill blade, and we moved the blade, and there's bees living inside of it. And so the workers can't safely work on the blade. So we get in there, get as many of the bees out of there and into a fresh hive and onto one of our sites as quickly as possible so that they can get back to work. We even had one at the Rio Tinto mine. They had empty explosive boxes. So there were not explosives in there. I think that's important. But the boxes that they use for those and in a big bin, and the bees had decided to make a new colony in one of those boxes. And yeah, you don't see nests like that often where they're in weird places, especially since one's whole side's open. They like to be in trees, preferably in a cavity. So that's one of the reasons bees do so well out here in Tehachapi is we have lots of oak trees and they die from the inside out. And so they end up with these hollow spaces that they like to live in. So we've had some fun swarm captures over the last few years.
That's interesting that you're, seeing these hives out in the more kind of desert areas too. You would think that they'd be in areas with a lot more abundance of trees and flowers and water and whatnot. But
yeah, I mean, bees are survivors. I mean, that's what honey is. It's their survival stock. So bees prefer fresh nectar to eat, but they will hoard nectar and dry it into honey, essentially. That's kind of the short version of it. And then classically, bees are from Eurasia, right? They're not native to North America. Honeybees are from Eurasia, not native to North America. And so they would experience these winters, right? And then those stores would get them through winter. But that also works when you have like the desert where it has its own kind of wet season and dry season here, sort of, right? It's like they are collecting during winter in the desert and then they're trying to get through dry, barren summer, more or less. And it works in the same way. They have those honey stores to get them through. So they really are, they're very organized and their whole life revolves around building those food stores to survive time when there isn't food. And then if we're lucky and we take good care of our bees, they produce extra that we can then harvest.
Right. So this is all really interesting. And I think for folks listening, I know honey can be very important for people, especially like they say that it can help with your allergies and things of that nature.
Yeah.
And people view honey as somewhat of a healing or medicinal, thing that you can eat. So you guys clearly are very well versed on your bees and the whole process. So I think that adds to, people who are looking for honey here locally to purchase from Bees Landing, because you could, I'm sure, answer any of the questions that they may have.
I will be honest, I could talk for bees about way longer than we have. But one thing that you mentioned is, the importance of local honey. The U.S. doesn't produce as much honey as it consumes. And so there is a lot of honey that's imported. Some of it's adulterated, unfortunately. They add different sugary syrups of different varieties to it. And like honey should never go bad, for example. So if your honey ever like starts mildewing or rotting or something, something's very wrong with your honey. It's been cut with something else. And they're doing a really good job on trying to crack down on that and do kind of different like certified sourcing programs around honey. And that's certainly helping. But the easiest thing to do is buy from a beekeeper and we have, if you want to buy from us, that's fantastic. But we have other beekeepers out here that are local. And I just encourage, in general, go buy from any of them. I mean, like I said, if you want to buy our honey, great. But, any local beekeeper, seriously, go out and look for them. There's a few. John Newsom is out here. Bright Creek Farms carries honey. I know Chris from King Bee Apiaries has honey around here. And it's just, these folks are taking care of their bees here. The bees mostly stay local. Some of these guys do what are called pollination contracts, which means the bees move around the U.S. to help pollinate crops. But yeah, some of them are just pure honey farms like us, where the bees stay in one spot and produce honey all year round. And that part is actually really important for the allergies you mentioned. So as long as the honey is not heated up, it can help expose you to pollen and allergens, which then helps you build up a tolerance. It takes a little while. It's not like an overnight thing, but it has been shown to help with allergies because you're being slowly exposed to those allergens.
Yeah.
Honey is also antimicrobial, so it's so dry and so rich in sugar that it kind of almost tears microbes apart. And so you can use it to like cover a wound, let's say, and help
Right.
keep it from getting infected. I mean, we have Band-Aids now and other, that may not be the most efficient thing.
In a pinch, if you
Yeah.
have a jar of honey in your car and you injure yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it's an option, but we do have plenty of modern medicine options as well. But it's been used as a long time for a medicine.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think all the beekeeping and honey itself, love honey, but yeah, it's all very interesting, and there's so much effort that goes into it and doing beekeeping responsibly and honey production responsibly that it is great to see that it's happening in our backyard and people have access to it easily. So for people who want to know more about Bees Landing, where can they find you guys? Would Simply Perfect be like your physical location?
Yeah, so we are technically in the back half of that building. That's where the kitchen is. That's where the offices are. All that good stuff is kind of back there. Bees Landing is scattered all across Tehachapi in a way because we have apiaries all over the place that we're working on. But right now, probably the best spot is social media. It's The Bees Landing on both Facebook and Instagram. The website is in the works, so if you go to thebeeslanding.com right now, there won't be anything. We're still transitioning from Discover. We kind of just finished all the paperwork with the state and the federal government, so we're early on in the formation, but by September 21st. So September 21st will be our last wine tour. So those of you who want to take a wine tour before Windham, that's the date. All the Bees Landing stuff will be in place to kind of pick up that torch and run after that date. And then, of course, you can always call us. So 661-235-5334 is our phone number. That's the phone number for Discover, so if I answer Discover, don't freak out. That number is going to be moved to the new business.
If anyone's interested in learning more about bees and beekeeping, that is something else that Chris offers, is to go into classrooms or, like if you want to do a work group, at your office where everybody learns something new and fun. Chris can come in and share all this information and beautiful pictures and, some really interesting facts about bees too.
And we bring equipment so you can get a little hands-on with the equipment. We've had a lot of fun with these. We've done a few school ones. We did the Rotary Club. We did Garden Club in Bear Valley. The Wildlife Association, I think, is what it was, the other one. And then we're doing the Rotary Club up in Rosamond here in October.
cool.
So we book them all the time, and they're a ton of fun, especially if you are okay with geeking out about bees.
Which hopefully our listeners are. I mean,
They're really cool animals.
Yeah, they are. They are very, very fascinating. But important to note, too, like you said, Discover Tehachapi tours go until September 21st. Is that every weekend until the 21st?
Yes, it's every
Okay.
Saturday and Sunday for the Signature Wine Tour. And we only have a couple of dates left if people want to do like the full bus rental, like the private tours. And again, that's 661-235-5334. If you're just booking for our public tours, so you're going with a smaller group, less than 8, discovertehachapi.com. And Discover Tehachapi, I should mention, will stay up. So discovertehachapi.com will stay around, and the social media sites will also stay around for updates through the transition. And then there's a tiny chance that we might try a different format tour in the future, but it's going to be, we're talking a few years down the road if we try it again. And it'll be like something like, I don't know, cute little VW buses, or we don't know yet. We might not do anything, but it won't be the stuff that we have to do all the crazy regulatory.
Right. Well, cool.
Smaller group tours.
Smaller tours, yeah.
Yes. Again, it's awesome to hear how you guys are pivoting and continuing to provide a great service, a little different from wine tours, but still exciting nonetheless for our residents and visitors too. So again, the Bees Landing on Facebook and Instagram, website soon to come. Anything else that you guys want to mention that we haven't touched on?
Other than if folks need help with swarms, we're kind of getting out of the season, so I don't know if anyone will remember, but if you do need a swarm removed, you can give us a call and we will come by. And for residentials, we do it for free.
Oh, cool. Good to know. All right. If anybody's got a swarm of bees, you guys are the people to call. Well, perfect. Claire and Chris, thanks for coming in and talking about the Bees Landing today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Of course. And Claire, thanks for the chamber updates, putting the other hat back on.
That's right. Yep. Switch hats again. No, thank you so much for having the chamber and for doing this every month. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Tehachapi.com is where you can get all the info on chamber events and happenings. Thunder on the Mountain
Car show.
Carshow.com.
Long URL.
Yes. Information on the car show, which will be here before we know it, like we said. But always lots of fun, exciting things happening here in Tehachapi. So again, thanks for coming in, guys.
Thank you.
And to anybody listening, if you have questions or comments, you can email us. But otherwise, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you back next time on Thatch Pod.
You've been listening to Tehatchapod. If you have a question, a thought, or a suggestion, email media@TehachapiCityHall.com. We'll catch you again soon, right here on Tehatchapod.